Thom Brooks, the Dean of Law and Government at Durham Law School in the UK. Lots of legal questions for you. I don't know where to start. Break it all down for us in simple terms. What is happening right now legally, and what could the president realistically do?
Well, legally speaking, there's just a lot of smoke and mirrors. There's really not a whole lot to what Trump is trying to do. Of course, you can have recounts of anyone can request a recount. Usually, there'll be a few conditions such as different margins of error and so on, but they typically don't go any further than about 1,000 vote difference on a recount. And you're looking at Biden winning various states by far more than that. So you have the President Trump trying to have recounts in places like Wisconsin that he has seemingly lost and lost by more than 1,000, yet in other places where he is kind of narrowly ahead, but as they count the mail-in postal ballots, he is falling quicker and quicker behind. He's trying to stop the vote counting in those places. He's trying to reassess the vote, have a check again in other places. And this is all, of course, a president who himself voted by mail. So he's been talking about this process being terrible. And it's exactly what he did a few days ago himself in Florida. I don't think, legally speaking, he's going to get very far with this, not least because even if there was some issue around the state of Pennsylvania or Georgia, both which may well go Biden's way, Biden doesn't need either. And so I think that whatever he's going to try to contest will ultimately come to nothing. And I think the grounds of which legally are pretty null and void. There isn't any evidence. He's saying meaningful access. That's his own legal term. There's been no evidence that any of that has happened or any problems, any fraud at all with a postal mail system that he has used himself.
And Thom, let's just look a bit more at that tweet that includes the meaningful access quote. He said, "Our lawyers have asked for meaningful access, but what good does that do? The damage has already been done to the integrity of our system and to the presidential election itself. This is what should be discussed." Tell us your thoughts on this.
Well, there's no evidence that the legal access that either side would have has been breached. I've been an electoral observer myself of these things. There's no evidence at all of that in any state, so that's just speculation. And I think he's right. There has been kind of a kind of a political kind of damage to this process, and it started with while states many of them were just beginning to count the postal ballots, including the one that he himself put in Florida. He had already announced from pretty much the beginning that he had won. So he's talking about the integrity of the process. Yet he was already himself saying he had won the election, and that anything that says he didn't win the election is somehow some massive act of fraud. Though there's been zero evidence of that in any state. And remember, we would need to see lots of it across many states because Biden has won so many states. So I think is his tweet, like a lot of the tweets, there's been a number of organizations doing fact checking, and quite literally none from the left or from the right. This is not a political issue. It's not a partisan issue. None have found any evidence for some of the stuff that he has been tweeting out from his rooms in the White House as he watches events unfold. So I don't put much stock in what he's saying. And yes, again, you can make various legal challenges about things, but it requires evidence. It requires a probability of success. And there's no evidence that anything has happened. There's no chance, even if he were able to open up things or stop things in Pennsylvania or other places, that it would actually have any material effect in stopping Biden from winning. Biden looks very much on course, and Trump has been doing everything in his power for the last day or so, if only just expressing himself on Twitter to try to undermine that probably inevitable result.
All right, Thom Brooks from Durham Law School in the UK. I'm sure we will be speaking to you again very soon with lots of legal questions. Thank you for your time today.
Hope so.